And so what was it you were saying? You were shoring up some of the seawalls that they're doing with the seawalls? I mean, with the reef balls? Are you doing that?
No, Phil asked me about some course that I just taught, and I was just commenting. And he asked if he mentioned that they would like to put some riprap or reef walls in front of seawalls to create a corridor. And I was telling him that some municipalities now in Florida are requiring for homeowners to put ripraps or some kind of materials, and I can find out more. That was just mentioned yesterday in the course that they're doing that to create more habitat and also to protect the seawalls. I believe, but so I know that's so changes happening.
You can share what those municipalities are, communities with me, Armando. That would be very much appreciated.
Good.
Yeah, I can find out. I can find out for you. But so also different municipalities, some of them have different codes written in their regulations. So permitting, it varies for living shoreline. So some counties are, you go only by the federal and state. Some of them, like Sarasota County, had, codes written in that you have to permit it with the municipality as well. So that's why in some counties it's a little more difficult to implement things like living shorelines than in other counties.
Great. Armando, it's really nice to hear your voice and nice to see you have time to get on the call. It's really good. Ryan, good morning to you as well. That's really super to have you be able to join us. Do we need to go through a quick introduction just so everybody knows who everybody is, or do you think we're okay?
Jean, this is Jorge Angulo from Eckerd, who we invited after you had asked me to speak on the water quality. I really thought he should be the one speaking on our behalf.
Great. I love it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, so I think that everybody should know Tim Rummage. Tim is from Ringling College, and he is their environmentalist, I would say chief cook and bottle washer, all of the above. This Spaceship Earth is one of the wonderful publications he's done recently, which is very good. It's Paul is wonderful. He's the guy that does a lot of our videos. Jim, I think your video is super, really, really good, very educational and a good kickoff. So
Paul makes that happen.
Yeah, he makes that happen. Yeah. So and then you have your people that are doing your water science. So, and is that Jorge or who are the people? All right, good. All right, so let's kind of kick it off then. Let's see. Oh, I got the wrong agenda up. Sorry, that's an old one. All right, so Jim, do you want to start with what you guys are doing and while I get the good agenda up?
I think everyone knows the sort of backstory. So to our moving into this phase with Eckerd and having Moat train the Eckerd students who are doing our research. And we'll talk a little bit about the summer, I think, after Jorge speaks about what his students are finding, what they're doing. And so I'd like to turn it pretty much directly over to Jorge and have him speak about this effort that I would say his kids have been fantastic. They have been dutiful. They have been just really responsible and independent. And I think we've got a great plan for 3 years of working with some of these softs who are going to be there for 2-3 years. And they're really committed to this. And the first thing he's got them committed to is this summer. That is Jorge does. So Jorge, I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, thanks, Jim. Hi, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be part of this meeting. Jim mentioned it to me, and I said, well, this is a good opportunity to get everybody up to speed on what are the progress that we're making. Well, before the end of last year, Jim and I met and decided to move on this, and then he explained me all about mode participation, and it was a great opportunity the way I saw it. So I prepared an independent study course for the spring semester, which started back in early February 2021. And the idea was to recruit a group of students so they will be able to help us in collecting the environmental data and coming up with a research design that will allow us to prove whether or not the mini reef is actually providing, that benefit of keeping our water clean. And also it will be a good opportunity to explore for other ecological related questions about these important intertidal communities. So Jim and I and the folk from Moat, we joined forces and we put together a nice team of students. We developed a sampling protocol that was based on a design that I don't know, Jim, can you share these with?
I need from Jean the permission to share my screen.
Okay, so which one am I talking to that needs
I'll share it to me.
to Jim? Is that you, Jim?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, sorry about that. I'll get that right now.
All set?
Wait a minute, 1 second here. I got to get up to full screen. Yeah, full screen so I can get permissions. There we go. And then Jim, let me get you. Sorry.
Okay.
All right, there you go. I meant more co-host. You're set for co-host now. Should be ready. Got it?
Yeah.
Anybody else need a ability to screen share? I'll put you up if you do. Okay,
Stand up right now.
all right, go ahead. Exit full screen. I don't see it yet. It must be
Okay, hold
coming.
on.
All right. Let's take a second.
Gene, I may need that ability. Bring Lockie here
Okay.
later.
I'm not sure why this is not.
All right.
Click share screen and then click my document.
Yeah, you should be able to get there. Jim.
Having-
You are a co-host, so you're set up. There you go. You should be able to do it.
It's on my, okay.
Double click and then go back to the full screen again. All
I'm
right.
sorry.
Looks like Tracy's back up there. Don't be sorry, Jim. Just take a second there. Up, looks like you're coming. There you go.
Welcome, everybody, to Tracy Hamill from Englewood. So she's just on now.
So you got it?
Yep,
Yeah,
it's
well-
showing.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
about the
But
delay.
we need to see the map of it.
Yeah, I don't see the map. Okay.
What we're seeing, there's your map.
There's the map. Yeah.
Cool.
Well, thanks, Jim. Well, essentially, we in conversation with Jim and Moat colleagues, we came out with this design, trying to answer those ecological questions for, and the water quality question. So here you see like three set of canals. One group of canals which is located down. Will you show, Jim, please highlight that one? Those will be our control canals. Those are long canals that doesn't have any mini reef installed, right? So we have three control canals. We have three treatment canals. No, those are the baseline. Treatment are the red ones. Yeah, three treatment canals on which we are conducting water sampling, and we'll proceed to start collecting ecological information from the mini reef now in the summer. So we are comparing the control against the treatment canals, and we also set up a group of three canals that we call them the baseline canals. Because since the center has obtained new mini reef and they're planning to implement them, we decided that it would have been a good idea to use a group of canals to start collecting data before the mini reef get installed on the canal to check for if that makes any difference after the mini reef has been installed over time, of course. So we have been collecting information from all these three sites, plus some points or stations along the main channel of Bimini Bay, as you
Wow.
can see. So our students have been going there every Saturday, pretty much every Saturday. But what we are having issue is with the actual possibility of covering the entire area in just one day of sampling.
Right, a lot of space, a lot of area. Yeah.
Yeah, so the model we found, it plays out better, is using one of the marine science boats here at Eckerd College. We can use those boats, of course, if we find the money for the gas, and we can come we can go to Anna Maria Island. We have done it twice, and we can collect all that information in just one single day of work.
Wow.
When we haven't been able to use the boat this spring, well, the students have driven down and they have to use kayak to sample the canals, but that really limits the size of the area that they can cover in one day using the kayaks.
Mhm.
So far, we have a database that is being built up as we speak. We have lots of data that has been already entered into the database. Jim has a copy of all those data sheet that we have collected, and there is also an Excel file that we have shared with Mode folks and Jim and everybody involved in it.
I've shared that with Gene and their
Right.
group too.
Yeah.
So that on that file, you guys can access the data. It's still being rebuilt because the students are not only doing this work, but also doing all their other courses. So right now, they are extremely busy. Next week are the final exam week. So they're finishing up with all the course project and writing up essays and studying for the final. So we put a pause on the sampling in this last Saturday, and we are not going to go tomorrow because of the finals, so the students won't be available. But we are going to resume on June 7th. That's a Monday.
Mhm.
Because we have applied for a summer research grant that the college offered. And even though we didn't get all the money that we asked for, well, they gave us enough so we can keep going using the boat throughout the summer. So we're going to be focused 100% on Anna Maria Island from June 7 all the way to July 31st or 30th.
So are you doing this every day then?
Well, I don't know if every day. Initially, we planned for doing it 3 times a week.
Okay.
And we budgeted for our gas for going out 3 times a week. But we didn't get enough money. So we need to, regroup and having taken into account what we have got and then plan for how many trips. But I think that we could at least do a very solid 1 trip per week or even more.
That's wonderful. Okay.
Yeah, and as they're working on this summer, they're going to help train some of the citizen scientists in the program that we're putting together. The only thing we've done with our new citizen science program at this point is introduce them to MODE's BCRS, because we really don't have a protocol set for them to actually, dig in and start working with. So Jorge has offered to take them out on the boat to teach them as part of their training. And I think that's going to be really attractive to the citizen scientists. They're going to want to go.
Yeah.
So that's going to happen this summer. I'm feeling really good about fundraising for this at this point, and I'm going to get some funds for them this summer and for the center to sort of support the overhead we've been providing.
Right.
And
No, that's wonderful.
we've got Mini Reefs from Tampa Bay Estuary program that we can put out still, and we'll continue to get more.
Okay. That is great.
I was also talking with Jim yesterday, I think, about other ideas of how to get people involved in our research. And we discussed the possibility of identifying within each of those canals, maybe a couple of families that might be willing to collect the data, of course, after we train them. And we can certainly use the summer for training those people on how to collect the data. And Jim has to obtain some of the equipment that is necessary to collect the water quality measurements. So I think that we can get a very good connection here between the students, the college, and the people living in Anna Maria Island, so towards a good goal of keeping our water, clean. And I have to make an observation. In the last trip that we made, or was a couple of Saturdays ago, we were in the middle of a spring tide, and the tides were very high when we visited, and we noticed a lot of fish life. But we noticed a lot of fish life inside those canals that contains mangrove, because some of the people have planted mangrove in their properties, and that is just a wonderful idea. And you could tell the difference. For instance, the canals that we are using as a control, those large canals down south, they don't have any mangrove planted on it. So we didn't see that fish life on those canals when we compare with the baseline canals, especially this last one up here, which is nearly totally covered with mangrove along the shoreline. And the life that we were able to see was very remarkable. We even saw 3 manatees, a mother and 2 calves, feeding on a white mangrove that was hanging over the water. So that
Yes.
was quite an interesting observation. Of course, this is just an observation, right? I'm not saying this is definitely or anything like that, but it's a very nice observation when you get to see, you know, that much life on those canals. And I need to say that canal up here, that one didn't have any mini reef installed, just mangrove. Yet the amount of fish life that we were able to see was very impressive. We even saw a barracuda swimming inside the canal. So,
Mhm.
so we are very excited with this project. Students are literally lining up to become volunteers in the project. I think we're moving in a good direction. We just need the small amount of funds to cover, you know, very basic logistic expenses, and we'll be off to go.
Right.
Jorge, about HabScope readings.
Yeah, well, we have also been doing the HabScope reading thanks to the training provided by MODE colleagues. Our students are collecting water samples from the 2 of the baseline canals, and they have been uploading that information on the website as MODE Marine people have, you know, trained them to do. Yeah, that's also another thing that our students are working on.
Okay, so to go back to the equipment, Jim, are you using the, what are you using? So I know right off the top of my head what it is. What are you using?
I think Jorge again can explain that.
Okay,
I
that's good.
can tell you what I bought, but it would take him less time, I think.
Okay, sounds good.
What are we
So-
using? What?
Well, the
For,
YSI,
for your
Oh, yeah.
water quality, what's the equipment you're using to do the measurements?
Yeah, well, we are using something called YSI, which is a piece of equipment that allows you to measure a bunch of variables in the water. The one that we are looking at now are surface. Everybody, we're collecting samples from the surface and also from the bottom of the canal.
Okay,
And on each of those places, we are measuring the temperature, the salinity, dissolved oxygen, chlorophyll, conductivity, and turbidity. That's what we
Okay,
are
good.
measuring for.
matches what we have perfectly. Just wanted to be sure. But the thing I was worried about, and you brought up, is we have to have the same kind of equipment. First of all, it'll allow us to get more consistency, and we can get better at making sure that we're doing it appropriately and following a procedure. So that's why I want to make sure we have the same list of equipment we go after. Now, sometimes we can get funds.
Yeah.
So I'd like to make sure we do that.
what was the
Can I ask a
hard
question?
handheld? Sorry, go ahead.
Can I ask a question, Ray Lonkey?
Yes, Ray, go ahead.
Yeah. Can I get more details eventually on, exactly what YSI instruments and repeat those parameters again? We need to.
Yeah, we can give you
I
the,
sent a link to you, Gene. The
Excuse me.
link was the exact product, I think. I can send it again.
okay.
Hold on.
I think we have sent it, but I just want to be sure. And
Okay.
Ray, what was spoken is the same thing that's on our spreadsheet. So we'll go over that later with you, just to be sure
Okay.
you've got it one more time. Okay. But I want to make sure that we've got the right equipment, because we're just getting ready again to do a purchase. So I don't
Jorge.
want to go out for it.
Jorge, I
Ryan,
have a
Sarah
question.
gave us these links.
Okay.
To help us buy them.
All right.
Mhm.
Sounds good.
Jorge, did you have any issues with the calibration on that machine?
Well, no, the calibration was done following, the instructions on the booklet, and also with assistance of MODE Marine colleagues. They help us to calibrate all the probe on the equipment, and we have been taking measurement with the similar YSI, same brand, same model, measuring the same variable, and we haven't found any, significant difference between the two instruments. That means that the calibration really is working fine. So the data, I'm very confident that the data we are collecting is
Excellent, because
real.
all we hear is horror stories about calibration from.
Right.
Yeah,
Have-
so thank you for bringing that up, because in a way, it's good to have the same instrumentation.
Yep.
Obviously, but if you don't have the same instrumentation, as long as you have the right calibrations, then it should be fine. But target the same equipment, but understand that they are kind of expensive, and it's probably almost more important to maintain a consistent calibration than anything.
Okay, good.
That's
Good. Good. Thank you very much. The other question I would ask Jorge and Jim, how about the Piney Knob? Did that give you any that give you a hiccup? Did you find anything? Is there another study? Are you actually sending things out to check for the brevis in the water? Anything like that that you're doing?
Well, I mean, since the occurrence of the Piney Point discharge, not much time has happened. So I cannot tell you whether
Okay.
or not already there have been some signs of the impact that
Okay.
things may have had in the Anna Maria Island area. I cannot tell you for sure. We need to look at the data, how the data behave over the summer. And we still don't have a very solid, good baseline data on how those canals behave throughout the year, like what the normal parameters during the summer, how those parameters change over the spring, over the winter. We don't have that variation. So we got to kind of play along to see, you know, keep consistency in how we collect our data and check for any abnormal numbers, and of course keep doing the HIV scope sampling, so we make sure that we can have some sort of control on the concentration of the Chirenia brevis microorganism. So it is too soon to tell, and we don't have enough data to actually support any.
No, I just was wondering if you changed anything, but you're saying it's too soon to even see anything right now.
Yeah,
okay.
And what we're doing, we are keeping the same protocol. We are not introducing any changes in order to find something else. We want to keep doing the same thing that we decided to do from the beginning. That's what consistency is about.
No,
the end,
agreed. We have to know what we have, and we have to know how it's changing over time before we can start looking at other things. That's perfect. Absolutely perfect.
The most time we keep doing that, and the most time we keep collecting the data, the better prepared will be as a whole, because knowing how the system works under, let's call it normal condition, will give us the necessary information to understand how the system might change if something happens in the future. I hope nothing.
Jorge, speaking of change, do you want to speak a bit about what you're trying to do with the GoPros and the colonization and the identification of species?
Boy, you guys are really great. That's perfect. Where I wanted to go.
It's important to understand the associations models that are going on those mini reefs. What sort of communities get established along those mini reefs? If we want the mini reef to actually be filtered in our canals, for that structure to actually filter the water efficiently, the community that get established on it got to be dominated by filter feeders mostly. But we don't know how the dynamic of this community is on time. So studying what is already settled on those mini reef now and seeing how the new mini reef develop over time will be very important. How are we going to approach or tackle this question? That would depend on how the footage that we have been taking about the already existing mini reef turns out. I don't know whether it will have enough a resolution or enough water clarity that will allow us to identify up to the species level. So that's something that we need to do, and we're going to look at during the summer. And we are also going to think other methods of sampling this. And I was talking to Jim about this. I mean, if new mini reef get installed, it would be great to get the people that would be willing to install them in their property to actually monitor over time, because they, after all, those mini reefs are in their backyards, right? They have access to them anytime they want. So if they keep monitoring in a way that we provide them the protocol, so that every week or every 2 weeks, please, would you mind going there and check, you know, take photos or take footage and upload that information so we can see changes happening over time, and we take necessary measurements. So that's
it'd be good if you could take stills when you see different species colonizing, so we can start a little visual database for everybody. So when we see similar things, we won't waste our time. That'd be great.
Perfect.
I agree.
There's two things I wanted to bring up. One, we still get occasionally one of the officials that indicate the fact that the state hasn't given us permission. Now, we're ignoring it because we've had enough permissions given to be able to continue. But is there any thought as to how we might be able to use some of what we've got to go back to the DPE and see if they can just sign off on this and get past it? Any thoughts on that, guys? Jim?
I guess I'm not you haven't got permission to,
We have permission from our county. They're not asking for any permitting. They're letting us to go forward with it. But when we went to the West Coast Inland Navigation District, they really pushed us to try to get to the state DEP, and that kept being brought up on and off in our different meetings. Now I'm ignoring it because, as far as I'm concerned, I've got enough documentation from David. We've got permission in the county, so I'm going forward. But I'm just thinking, one of these days, if we have a chance, we should look for an opportunity to close that loop.
I don't think we've drawn that much attention because they've been individual purchases, really,
Okay.
homeowners, and we haven't done anything like 1,000 Reefs or any of that. And I think that's probably why I'm looking like I don't know what you're talking about.
That's fine. I get, you don't know, as long as you,
grow organically, and
yes, it, okay. That's what we're doing, and the county's given us support, so it's great to go forward. I just want to put that out there. Eventually, we're going to have to figure out how we can get a nice DEP person to come in and just sign off on it. So however we do it.
Sarasota County did bring it up yesterday and made a deal about it, that Florida DEP hasn't signed off.
Right.
And then they try and use the Rivers and Harbors Act of 1877 to stop us. So it's like a
They just mentioned
thing.
it. They mentioned it. That's all.
Hey,
Dave,
Gene,
yeah,
Gene,
Dave,
is that Sarasota County? What county is?
Yeah.
signed off?
Sarasota County. Sarasota
Right.
County, we're fine. David, did you want to say something? And then I'll go to Teresa. Go ahead, Dave.
Just going to say that they've known about this type of device since like 1967 was the first time people were trying to build something like this.
Right.
Mike Kalinsky started working on these in 1982 at New College.
Right.
You know, and we, as far as pulling actual permits for scientific study, where you get like a 3, 5, or 7 year time span that you have to remove the experiment.
Right.
They've known about this for like 80 years. Like people trying to do this kind of thing. They've known about the Mini Reefs the way it is since like 1996. They've never done anything. They don't want to do anything. They want someone else to come along and say, this is great. So you're never going to get anything from them ever, no matter who you talk to. It's never going to happen.
I just want to keep that in the background. We're so far so good. And I agree with what Jim said. We just have to be cautious that that's out there. And we do have documentation. So we can
what it's going to take, this comes from people I've talked to in the legislature. They said you'd have to have a city, like city council, mayor, something like that, or a county, go to FDEP and say, we're doing this thing. We're putting 10,000 of these in. They're our problem. You can sign off. You don't have to worry about it because we'll deal with if it all falls apart. It's a disaster.
Right.
It's our deal, our money, our everything. That's the only time you're going to get FDEP to go, okay. And then after it's put in the water and it's there for 18 years and they're all satisfied, then they'll finally sign off on something.
Sounds good.
Because it's somebody else's responsibility and liability. And if it goes wrong, it's somebody else's black eye. And so that's what they want. They don't want to be the first entity up to go, yeah, we're just going to permit these and give a blanket permit, say you can do whatever you want, wherever you want.
Right.
It's never going to happen with them.
Okay, Teresa, I know you asked, but let me go to Ryan first, just to see if he's got a closure. Ryan, did you?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up that, you are getting some attention. I was at a recent meeting and somebody had brought up the Mini Reefs, and it was part of the artificial reef group. So it was Florida AFS. So, you guys are getting attention with your activities. So I strongly encourage continuing the monitoring so that you can show what positive results you have. I agree with David that it would probably take a lot for more action to come from that. But the individual purposes and the small amount of effort is still adding up and getting attention at a larger scale.
All right, I will add something to what you said, but I'll go to Teresa next, Phil, and then I'll get to you. Teresa, did you want to comment?
The only thing I was saying, if you need some contacts in with DEP, my daughter worked for DEP for 4.5 years before she does the water quality testing for Lee County now. So I do have a little bit of an in that she can point us in the right directions because that's what she did for DEP, was the water testing and quality at CHAP down at Charlotte Harbor Aquatic Preserve.
Great. We'll keep that in mind. We might have to have that. Okay, so Phil stepped away. All right, I just want to, the one thing that we did do, Jim, that I was going to bring up, because of the concern of the West Coast Inland Navigation District, their concern was that we were putting the Mini Reefs in and then not doing any action to confirm that they were still in place. So we added to our inventory spreadsheet a column for a date when we checked the Mini Reef, just to, and we'll keep that, and that'll be part of our data submission. So we'll make sure annually we check all the reefs we've installed just to see if they're in, and make sure they're under the dock, and that's it. Now, if we don't see them, we'll contact the owner and see if they've been moved or replaced. But that was what we put down as our action. So we feel as though we've met their need to confirm that what we put in as inventory is still there as we go around. Since we're doing the water testing, we're there anyway. So we're breaking it up to do that. Right now, we have about 115 reefs in. I would suspect we'll have another 20 at least before the end of before we start June. That's the plan. Somewhere in June, we'll put about 20 more in. So we've done pretty good.
Just curious, that sounds great. I'm just curious about, of the 115, did the individuals who now host them, did all of those individuals pay money toward a reef?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so they are the individual owner.
Right. I'm getting people calling, like we did our last, the 26th of April, and I've already had 3 people sign up before, and I haven't done any advertising. Now, what I typically do is I go and cover a couple of neighborhoods with flyers that we're getting ready to do and install. It's $300. Look at the difference. And so I've been very lucky to get people, they jump on it usually pretty good. So I would suspect we'll get 20 for the next round. Yeah. Okay. Now, Ryan, did you have your hand up again?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment again. Glad to hear that you're doing that, Gene, because the whole conversation from this particular group, it started because of the thought that they could be coming free from the docks, and people were wondering if anybody ever found one at the bottom of the creek or caught up in somebody's net or gear. So having that regular check and inventory log is, I mean, that's kind of where they're coming from in terms of their concerns. So having the proof and evidence that no, they're not just falling off is a good step forward.
Yeah, I've been saying that we're stewards. We're not just people that are putting them in. We're stewards of that waterway, trying to bring it back and regenerate it. And that means we manage what we've got. So that's what we're trying to prove we can do.
Good way to head off a problem.
Okay. All right. Now, let me get my agenda back up if I can bring it. Let's see, share screen. I think I finally got it. There it is. Okay, so we had our introductions. Jim, thank you so much. Can everybody see it?
Mm-hmm.
I think, Jim, you might have to stop sharing.
I think I did.
Okay.
I can see yours.
Okay, you can see it. Good. All right, so we did an update. Thank you. Feedback on the water testing. Anybody have any other questions for Jorge on the testing that they're doing and what's going on?